What's up, guys? Tim Halstead here for episode 18 of tearing out the first Calvert monoleaf, rebuilding it, put it back in. So I'll kind of tell you where I'm at. I may have mentioned on some other videos, but I got the new springs from Calvert. Thanks for sponsoring me, John Calvert and Travis Van Kirk, who's been working hard to get things right. Travis and I have known each other for, well, since '98. However, 20-something years. So, and like I said, this is the first time I'm changing this spring. Well, I got the new spring, I think the part number is 2000, and it just doesn't have enough arch to it. It lacks about 2.5 inches from my current spring, and you'll see it in this video. I'll show you the difference. And in this car, I run a 10.5 by 30 inch tall tire. 69 Mustang Cougar, you need to have some room in there. So it does sit a little bit higher than most cars to clear that, I think. So I'll kind of take you through the process of taking the spring apart and what I'm doing to change it. It's kind of neat. But I wanted to give a shout out to Jeff Dysinger from Skin Funk Tattoo, if I'm not mistaken. If not, he'll correct me. But Jeff, we've been racing the same cars, man, since high school. So you can see back here all the wind stickers from the old swamp in Cicero, New York. Estes Safety Park, did a lot of racing there. Great track, you know. But it was always wet and the pits sucked. But back then, you know, and probably even now, who cares? You know, you're at the track, shifting gears, pulling the wheels, that's what matters. But you've probably never seen the car in this angle with it all apart. But the paint, 37 years old, still looking good. So let's get working on this. Tear it apart. Subscribe and share. Thanks for tuning in. All right, guys, so we're going to remove this center bolt of the leaf spring for the monoleaf, because what I'm going to do is I got a new section for the rear coming. And remember, on a leaf spring, the rear half of the spring is what gives you the height of the car. So in this case, I got about a 2.5 inch difference of my old leaf spring versus the one they have now. So mine was a little bit different when it was originally designed, and I want to keep it that height in my case because I think it helps with my 60 foot, and I think it makes a difference for sure with the height in my car, so I don't want to change that. And in my case, I added washers on a longer bolt because my pinion shim has a hole in it that's about that size. I'll show you. So here's the deal. In my case, I have this lowering block. It's factory. That's just how Ford did it, or Mercury did for the Cougar. And this fits over that centering bolt. Now I put the shim over first, and I have this centering bolt through there with the washers, so that it fits in here and keeps it from moving around and shifting. So I don't know if it came that big. I think I actually drilled it that big because it had these washers on it from when I got the spring from Calvert back in '98. But either way, so that's how you do your pinion angle, which we'll talk about later in another episode. But I did want to show you guys this lower Caltrack mount. Now what I did is I got an extra set from Travis at one time, probably back in '16 when I got the front end under control without smashing things. But I went with a double adjustable shock in the back from Mark Menser. And the issue is, though, with shocks on a Mustang and a Cougar, they're pin and pin. They have rubber on each end. And it's tough to get that shock in the aftermarket at this point in time. So what I did is I took their shock that they wanted me to use, and then I got a universal mount. I think I got these from like Speedway, cheap, $9 a piece or something. And then what I did is I welded it to the bottom of the original shock mount. So now I can use my Caltrack and use an aftermarket double adjustable shock much easier in regards to mounting it. the top still has the pin. And if you look here, I'll show you after I get it apart. Let's see. Let's get this thing apart here. So that's how these springs come apart. And in this case, what I did is I switched to the Del Loom bushings. You can see it right here. You can see the grease fitting on it. These are about the closest you're going to get to a slider suspension. And like I said on a previous episode, I do have a set of sliders. So now would be the perfect time if I was going to do it. I could just put them up there. Who knows? Like I said, racing's dynamic. I might feel like putting them up there next week, and now I got a slider suspension in the back. I don't know, but probably not. I just want to get this combination going with not a lot of fanfare. So now what I need to do is I'm going to press these out. I'd taken them out before with a socket and a hammer and smashed my finger, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that again. I'll just take it to my engine shop there. They got a press. I'll press it right out. But we're going to replace this leaf spring because if you look at it, and I'll show you. Here's my old one here, and I'm going to put it up there next to it, and then you can see the predicament I'm in. So here's one, the new one. And I think you can see that, and I'll bring the camera. Here's my old one. Let's get the orientation correct. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but I'll show you the difference. So there's the difference. This is my old spring here, and here's the one they sell. You can see there's a big height difference. The size tire I have underneath here is a 30-inch tire. I need the height I have now, or it'll be hitting. So you can see the difference in that spring, so it's kind of cool. So that's it. Got them apart. I'll take them down to my machine shop, Precision Engines in Port Clinton, Ohio. He's got a nice press there. I can press them out. I'm not going to beat on them. I've already beat them out before. No issue, but I don't want to do it again. It's too much work. So that's what I'll do. Once I get the halves on Monday, hopefully, which will be next 3 days, I'll get the other half. I can press those in. I made a little tool here, which I'll videotape it, to press the bushings in. It's just a big socket with some 3/8, which it's 7/16 threaded rod, and you put it through and put some big washers on it, and you kind of imagine you can just draw that bushing right in. It works real nice. So I'll kind of show that the next time on the video. But we're working around, we're getting things done. I'm already behind my goal of the end of May, which, you know, that happens. I don't get worried about it. It's not that big of a deal. Got plenty of time to race. I just want to do it safe, and I want to be able to get the best I can performance-wise in 60-foot time when I'm going down that track for the first time. So I appreciate the questions people are asking, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability, or how it affects me, or what I do. So it might not be what you think or your answer. You know, I'm just giving you suggestions. You figure it out on your own how you like to do things. You know, take what's good from what I do and add it to your program. That's how I look at it. I like to go to the racetrack and look at people's cars. You know, you always see something that, wow, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that, or I should have done that. So I appreciate others' work. So thanks for tuning in. Subscribe and share. Welcome back, guys. So here's the scoop. I was able to get the new rear half of the leaf spring in the FedEx on Saturday, which was yesterday. I never got a chance to get it done, but check it out. Compare it to what they had sent me originally. This is more consistent with my old spring in regards to the height difference. I kind of already mocked it up to see if it would be the right spring, and it sure looks like it. But I put it up here to kind of give you a comparison so you can see the difference. So my spring is a little bit custom there. What we'll do is I'll get things moved around, and we'll put it back together, and then we'll check it out against the original spring and see what it looks like in regards to length and height. But I want to give a shout out to Calvert Racing, Travis Van Kirk, for hooking me up with this leaf spring ASAP. Makes a big difference. I'm trying to get this thing done. And I know with the rear suspension that I got, and the size tire, which I think I said before was 30 by 10.5, it needs the height to maintain the clearance. And it's got a good stance at that height, and I like it, so we're going to stick with it. All right, so I got the leaf springs here. This is the rear half with the dull loom bushings in my case, or the regular shackle, Ford shackle you could put. And I'll tell you, I didn't see a lot of difference yet in regards to the dull loom bushings versus the stock shackle being loose, I'll say. If people have an issue with being things too loose, you got to figure that out yourself. You know, too tight you get binding, too loose there's a safety issue. So you got to get a happy medium. But here's the new spring, front half here. And I'll tell you, I got this scaffolding, probably one of the best purchases I ever bought for like $100 at Menards. That's how I put the ceiling up in my garage. It's a great workstation, workbench. It's you can roll it around. So in my case here, here's my old bolt here. And I need that, like I said before, because my shim, because I usually run a 2-degree shim, I'll measure the pinion angle like I said before. But I would like it there so it's not moving back and forth. So with these new springs, this bolt wasn't long enough. So I had to get new bolts. And then, in this case, I don't really need the vice grips that I had before. There's no tension on them. It just makes it easier to get the bolts in and out, I think. And then I'll put these guys together. In my case, I like the bolt going on the inside. And then I'll put this guy over here. And after I get the bolts in, then what I'll do is I'll tighten up the center bolt, because I want that tight with no stress from these brackets here to kind of just keep things lined up. And these are all lock washers, or lock nuts. So that thing's got to compress pretty well. And I think maybe I will put a vice grip on, because then I'm not stressing that bolt any more than I need to. Let's see what happens. It's not a big whoop. And in my case, remember, this is going up because that's sitting on the rear end's going to sit on top of that. The other reason I had to have it up is the fact that this bolt, the head of that Allen, sits inside the perch on the rear end and centers it. So we'll tighten that up. And I'll check it with my hand afterwards. That looks pretty nice. And that's pretty snug. We'll try right now. Then I'll tighten up these guys here. That gun's pretty strong, but when I want something tight, I'm going to do it by hand, because I'm going to make sure that it's tight. There isn't any torque spec that I know, it's just you don't want that bolt breaking on you. That's pretty damn tight. I'm okay with that. Tighten these guys up here. Same here. So now my shim can fit on, and that lowering block, which this sits in the rear end and then this sits in the back of the perch. So we'll check and see the height. Go through the height will be mint, and then in regards to doing the other one, you ain't gonna get nothing from me filming it, so you'll know that I'll be doing that right after this. Let's turn the spring over. Take one of my old ones. There you go. Still might be a little bit different, especially with this guy. But who knows? You know, the springs are a little bit different thickness. At this point, we'll try it out and we'll see what we got. I can always, if I felt like it, switch the old front one and replace the new one. You know, really the one I was concerned about the most is this back side, because there's a bow to it. I've twisted it. I've been beating on that spring for so long. But like I said, I'm going to do the other side. I'll push the bushings out and push them in here. I'll film that, and we'll have this thing done next week. Hopefully get the motor done next week sometime. In theory, I could be getting this thing done in the next 2 weeks, if not sooner. I want to just thank Travis Van Kirk again at Calvert Racing. I appreciate that. Everybody that's helped me along the way. Stay tuned. Subscribe and share. Thank you.